Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Garbage Time Takes Season 2, taking off. We're back from an extended break due to unforeseen circumstances of the year 2020. But we're back and we're better than ever. I've got my co-hosts as per usual,
Bobby.
and Dennis.
That's what they call me.
And we're excited to be back, excited to start the podcast up. We've got a new website courtesy of Bobby and Dennis. They did an excellent job putting that together. Socials have been upgraded, brand new Instagram profile pictures, setups, posting articles. The boys are getting after it, and we're excited to have you guys join us for season 2 of Garbage Time Takes. Boys, is there anything you'd like to say to our audience?
Well, Derek, thank you for such a lovely introduction back. It's been way too long. Once again, you can find our YouTube just by searching Garbage Time Takes on YouTube. We got some brand new videos there as well. We're posting a new GTT debate series that we're looking to get off the ground as well. So you'll find a video from Dennis and I there. You can also check out our website. That link to that will be in the description of this video, so you can find that right below and click on that. You can find us on Instagram at Garbage Time Takes, and we will, of course, post there whenever we have a new video, new article, which we're super excited about our new article series. And you can, of course, find us on Twitter at Garb Time Takes with a whole new rebranding, whole new everything. You know, we loved our old logo, but, you know, this is 2.0, baby. It's time to get real.
Yeah, it's really great to be back. Shout out to Bobby for taking care of a lot of the social media stuff and also putting up some articles. Derek putting up an article, hosting the podcast, obviously. Also, just wanted to say that I'm just thrilled to be back. I mean, I spent a lot of time listening to episodes 1 through 12 of season 1, and there's only so much of that you can listen to before you just really want, the new content. And I think that the people deserve the new content, so I'm excited.
Correct. For those of you who are OG listeners, our
Thank
last
you.
episode, our last episode, if I
Thank you very
remember
much.
correctly, it's been a minute. I believe we were looking forward to previewing March Madness, and then when we came back from spring break, and unfortunately there was no March Madness that year, but we're in 2022 now. And
The
with
last pod that we
2022
posted was February 28th, 2020.
Wow.
And unfortunately, we were previewing a lot of things. We briefly previewed like the Masters didn't happen. The obviously March Madness didn't happen. Baseball didn't really happen until July they got going that year in 2020, the shortened season. So unfortunately, it's kind of sad to go back and listen to that because a lot of those things weren't able to happen that year. But as Derek said, we're in 2022, and a lot of good stuff going on now. So we persevered.
2022 season 2. Lots of twos on the boards today, boys. So if you guys are ready, I'm sure the audience is ready. We'll get started. Dive right into some MLB talk. Tigers, Cubs, Reds. For those of you who are new, I'm a big Cubs fan. Tigers are my second favorite team. Bobby, primarily a Tigers fan, likes to jive me for saying that the Tigers are my biggest enemy since I'm not their number one fan. And Dennis, our resident Ohio native and knows everything, all things Cincinnati. So I don't know where we want to start. If we want to start in Detroit, Chicago, or Cincinnati, we could go in alphabetical order and start with the Cubs. What do you guys think?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it.
All right. Well, for those of you who are listening, you will have to excuse us. We might be a little bit rusty in our preparation and in our execution. But starting off with the Cubs, currently we did win today. We did win today in extra innings. It was our first extra innings win in I don't know how long. But unfortunately, one win doesn't really make up for our 20 other losses. We're 37-57. Last year, sold the farm, got rid of a lot of fan favorites, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Javier Baez, just to name a few. We were in for a rough year, and I knew that going in. And the front office, and more importantly, the ownership, as Dennis, can also take some pride in, I guess. Ownership wasn't really looking to spend money.
Oh
GM
yeah,
wasn't
we'll
really
get to
looking
that.
to
We'll get to
spend
that.
money. It's, I mean, when you put all of your money into Marcus Stroman with zero position player, zero elite position players currently, you're in for a rough season. So yeah, it's pretty much been a season to expect. Certainly wasn't looking at a playoff push this year. Not to mention the team's been pretty much blasted by injuries. Nico Horner's missed a lot of time. Patrick Wisdom's missed some time. Frank Schwindel's missed some time. David Bodie's missed some time. Our starting pitching, I'm pretty sure, has been made up primarily of AAA players for the majority of the season. I don't think our starting rotation has been healthy for a full week this year. So yeah, it's been unfortunate to see our fall from grace from 2016 happen so quickly. Feels like it was just last year that we were hoisting the World Series in Cleveland. But here we are, 20 games under 500, and everyone's saying, we may go after Aaron Judge. I'll believe it when I see it, when the ownership decides they're going to spend their money in Chicago rather than on trying to buy Chelsea. So.
A great football club, by the way.
A great football club, but you'd like to see the money go to the Cubs as a Cub fan. Dennis, how about you? You're in a little bit of the same boat with Bob Castellini, running you amok.
Yeah, I've actually got a little bit of show and tell. You don't believe me. But I don't know if this is going to show up too well, but that's how our season's going, right? Jesse Winker. I might as well go ahead and burn this jersey because Bob Castellini said, "You know what? Screw you. I don't want Jesse Winker. I don't want Nick Castellanos. I don't want Suarez. I don't want Sonny Gray." And basically just said, "You know what? We're just going to completely forget the whole thing, take us out of the playoff picture, and the fans aren't going to go anywhere because we're going to go." That was
he did say that, Dennis.
Almost direct quote from son and co-owner Phil Castellini, which is just absolutely disgusting and makes me want to barf as a Reds fan.
Dennis, I didn't even know you had a Jesse Winker jersey.
I got it for Christmas.
Oh my goodness!
Like this last year, yeah. So that was
Dennis, how does it feel having All-Star snub Brandon Drury out of obscurity to lead the squad?
That's been the one bright spot there, Bobby. I mean, Brandon Drury, as well, I'm sure we'll touch a little bit on the Fantasy Baseball League here in a second, but famously picked up by Shane Rose. Shout out Shane if you're going to listen to this, hopefully so. But he's absolutely been on a tear, and it was a shame that he didn't make the All-Star game, but nevertheless, he's been really raking. Came out of absolutely nowhere, and we'll touch on that a little more later.
Dennis, I got a question for you.
Overall, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Where do you think Luis ends up at the end of the season? Because I'm hearing that there's no way, no how he's in a Cincinnati Reds uniform. Where do you think, if he were to be traded, would make the most sense, and maybe for you as a team and for the team that's getting him, what you could get in return and what Luis could do for another squad?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I got basically one thing to say. It's Nick Kroll better get on the phone because he needs to be gone in the next 8 days. I mean, I love Luis, but you're not going to get anything for him if you don't trade him by the deadline. And we're not going to contend. So there's really no reason to keep him around while we can get assets for him. In terms of where I think he could go, I don't have a great answer. We just need prospects, just more prospects. Preferably, I mean, we have some good young pitching. If anybody's been following Major League Baseball, maybe heard about Hunter Green
with a 6
Nick Lodolo has some promise. Well, I mean, it's his first year.
Also picked up by Shane Rose, which was a bungle job, Shane, if you're listening.
This is true. I think there's a lot
Dennis,
of teams
what good
out
is
there
it
right
if
now
you
that
can
could,
throw hard if you just throw
Failure to
meatballs
locate.
over the middle of the plate?
I mean, he's got some things to work on. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And
I mean, the
is
6
he gonna
ERA
end
doesn't
up?
lie.
I could see, and there's a lot of things that could go on that could go down with it. I mean, don't forget that once upon a time, Aroldis Chapman was going to be a starter, and we know that didn't work out because of longevity. I think if Hunter can, perfect his fastball and ability to get guys out, maybe we see him move to the bullpen. But obviously, right now he's just not an effective starter. That is one thing I've seen out of him, though. Strong starts in games and then gets absolutely rocked in the 5th inning or 6th inning. And it's probably because he just doesn't have enough in the tank at that point. And all of a sudden, he's given up a couple homers and given up some runs, and David Bell didn't even have a chance to get him out of the game.
And yes,
Dennis,
that's what you need. Dennis, the next Amir Garrett on your squad. Hard throwing.
Well, I mean, if
failure
Hunter
to
Green
locate.
can bring the firepower and go fight the Pittsburgh Pirates bench, then I'm all for it. Keep him around.
Dennis, all I'm saying is I don't think you want your 2nd overall pick to turn into a bullpen guy. I think he was drafted to be a workhorse Cy Young candidate. You probably, I mean, far be it for me to place any judgment, but if your 2nd overall starting pitcher goes to the bullpen, yikes.
No, I'm with you, but unfortunately, as a fan, I don't get to control those decisions. If it was up to me, we wouldn't have gotten rid of a lot of guys we got rid of in the offseason. So there's just a lot of bonehead moves being made by the management in Cincinnati, and they're raking in the money from fans like me who won't go away because we're diehard.
You got nowhere to go, Dennis, because you got nowhere
right.
to go. One thing before
Correct.
we get to the Tigers with Bobby, I've got 4 words for Luis Castillo, and I'm not trying to get us copyright struck. But New York, New York. Book it.
Well, I was
the city that never sleeps.
I was just gonna say. I mean, why would you need Hunter Green to lead your franchise into the future when you've got, future Cy Young candidate, I'm sure, Vlad Gutierrez leading the rotation.
I mean, what about Nick Lodolo?
Oh no. And I mean, let's not forget how badly the Cincinnati Reds bungled my favorite reliever, Cionel Perez.
Man, that's a story for another day.
That is a story for another day. And absolutely gross what I'm seeing in the city of Cincinnati this season.
Current Baltimore Oriole savior, might it be Cionel Perez?
Bob, how about the Tigers? Can you enlighten us on the state of the Detroit organization? And as you know, you always say I'm not a Detroit Tigers fan, but I've been following them very closely. So if you'd like me to provide any input as well, I will. But the floor is yours, my friend.
Of course, and of course there will be plenty of time for your input, Derek, which I value very, very much. However, what I do not value is this batting lineup from the Detroit Tigers because they have been horrendous, and that is an understatement. I'm seeing absolutely no production from basically anybody. I mean, when Miguel Cabrera is basically leading the squad in like year 400.
All-star Miguel Cabrera.
Correct. I love Miggy to death. But, I mean, when he's leading the squad, you're in trouble at this point. Javi Baez at this point was clearly exposed as the worst shortstop on the market last season, and we clearly paid the wrong guy, which I'm very concerned about.
Where's Carlos?
Eduardo Rodriguez, I mean, heck, we were just able to find him about 2 hours ago. He says he'll be back at the end of August, but he went MIA AWOL for the last month and a half, and just no idea where he was at. I mean, when you're throwing out Michael Pineda, Willie Peralta, and a bag of chips from Double-A, I mean, heck, they're calling up guys from the West Michigan Whitecaps to get starts for this club, and still somehow throwing scoreless innings, and just can't get 2 runs across the plate to compensate. That's how you're going to end up 38-57 on the season, like 1 game above the Royals at this point, soon to be last, if not already.
Better than the Reds.
And I mean, it's completely horrible. I mean, we've pitched way too well for the record that we have. And we have like 17 injuries, just like, Derek was saying. I mean, we've got basically one starter that we started the year with, and that's Tarek Skubal. I mean, heck, we can't even get Bo Brisky out there. He's injured. We've got Tommy John surgeries, happening like they're, clockwork. And why hasn't Akil Badu been optioned off to AAA ball? I have no idea. But he's still on the roster, and he's batting like 120. But that's all we got. Because we can't even play Spencer Torkelson either. We're throwing out Harold Castro because our draft picks have... No, it's just... I can't even finish my thought. It's just a bungle.
I got a question for you, Bobby. Bobby, I gotta ask you this question. Would you rather have Akil Badu or Aristides Aquino?
Honestly, probably Aristides Aquino.
No, Aristides Aquino.
Because the Punisher at least punishes balls to the tune of like a 190 average. And right now we're not even seeing that from Akil. I like Akil, but, I mean, he may have been a flash in the pan.
Well, I mean, that's tough sledding. All right. I appreciate the honest answer.
Yeah, it's been rough for Detroit when you're basically your entire starting rotation, just like the Cubs, has never pitched a full week together. Casey Mize, Tommy John, Spencer Turnbull had Tommy John last year and hasn't made a start yet.
Matt Manning nowhere to be found.
Yep, Matt Manning's another one. I mean, you could... I struggle to remember all of the names because there have been so many that have just dropped like flies. Thankfully, we have all-star Gregory Soto. Thank you, Gregory. Because the Tigers' bullpen actually is one of the best in the MLB.
Correct.
I think they're top 5, potentially top 3 bullpen ERA. So the Tigers' bullpen is not the issue. But
For once,
correct. But when, like Bobby said, you're throwing guys from AAA every other start, and you've got no consistency in the rotation, and Eduardo Rodriguez, AWOL, unfortunate personal issues that forced him away from the team, but yeah, we'll actually we will get into it. Why not? The problem with the Tigers is Al Avila. He needs to be fired as of 3 years ago when he bungled the Justin Verlander trade.
Bag of chips.
And he should have been fired when he bungled the JD Martinez trade.
Bag of chips.
There have been many fireable offenses for Al Avila, and the fact that he's still around is just complete incompetence. Al Avila is the problem, and like a lot of Lions fans like to say that until the Fords are gone, they'll never win. Although things may be looking up, as we'll see in our next segment here very shortly. Until Al Avila is gone, and the Tigers get someone who is serious about winning and is actually has more than 2 brain cells, it's going to be a rough go for Tigers fans, because Tigers fans will remember Chris Ilitch said at the start of the year, the rebuild is over. Well, if the rebuild is over, I'm scared to know what we're in right now.
Correct. And as you and I have talked about many times, Derek and Dennis, the same effect, this team, if the game is a 2-0 ball game, it is insurmountable. I mean, the fact that we've just not been able to field anyone worth a darn, basically, at this point, maybe outside of Michael Fulmer and a couple guys in the bullpen, is shocking. And like you said, Derek, is right down to Al Avila. This guy must have some serious blackmail, because that is the only way he has any business maintaining this position.
I mean, the Tigers would probably be 6 wins better if they would have re-signed CJ Cron. Plain and simple. But they let CJ Cron walk for inexplicable reasons. And he's, playing like a top 4 first baseman in the league.
Yeah, like we have such depth at first base.
Exactly. Miggy and Spencer Torkelson, who unfortunately can't hit a beach ball at the moment. But enough doom and gloom. with our three sad MLB franchises, perhaps our spirits can be brightened by moving into some NFL talk. The Lions and Bengals both, in my personal opinion, had pretty solid drafts. And according to experts, the Lions also, the experts also agreed that the Lions had one of the top drafts of this year. So I don't know who wants to lead us off with a little bit of NFL draft and what their thoughts are. Let's start with Dennis. Dennis, your thoughts on the Bengals draft and how you see this next season playing out. Will we see another Super Bowl appearance from Cool Joe and the boys?
I mean, I could talk for days about it. I could do a whole podcast on this, but I'll try to keep my thoughts somewhat concise. I'll start with the draft. I think they did a really good job. First round selection, Dax Hill out of Derek's University of Michigan. And maybe you can enlighten me a little more on that, Derek, but from what I know, kind of a safety cornerback combo, secondary guy, fills a need on the defense.
He's an elite man coverage player. Yeah. Even though he was listed as a safety, he was always lined up on the opposing team's number one wide receiver. He can play corner, he can play safety. There's a reason he was a 5-star, and there's a reason he was one of the anchors of our defense. So, I've heard. Go ahead, Dennis.
I was just going to say I've heard really good things about him, and from my perspective, I've heard a lot of people saying that the long-term keeping Jesse Bates is probably not going to happen, and so I think that this was a really smart short and long-term move by the organization because he can come in and play, he can cover. He can help cover guys. As you said, a good one-on-one coverage kind of guy. And
we won't talk about him getting blasted by George Pickens in the college football playoff semifinal. We won't talk about it.
No, we won't have to. We won't talk about that. Even though he might match up with him against Pittsburgh, right? Isn't that where Pickens got drafted? That's interesting.
Dennis, you would know better than I. I cannot verify that currently.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 95% sure that Pickens ended up going to Pittsburgh, which is pretty funny. But
you would be correct.
I'm a big fan of the Dax Hill pick. I think we're grooming him to take over Jesse Bates' spot, and if he's half as good as I hear he is, it's going to be great. Second round, we went with more of a true corner, Cam Taylor-Britt out of Nebraska. Helps fill another need. I mean, the secondary was an area. The whole defense really was full of a lot of guys who were on 1-2-year deals, and they played really well, and that's why we had a lot of success last year, in addition to Joe Shiesty. But the defense really coming together with a bunch of guys that maybe weren't even all that, it wasn't anticipated that they'd play that good. And so supporting them going into this next year with a bunch of rookies who have a lot of promise, I think was a really smart move. I've heard really good things about the D lineman, Zach Carter out of Florida, we got in the third round. And I heard that the lineman Cordell Volson out of the good old North Dakota State that we picked up in the fourth round also has a lot of promise. I was a little disappointed we didn't go lineman earlier. We did address the O-line in the offseason through free agency a bit, which was really good. I was really happy to see that.
Considering Joe Burrow was either making a miraculous throw or ending up on his backside, offensive line, very important.
Correct. And considering that we would have won the Super Bowl if Joe Burrow had a third of a second more to look to his left and find a wide open Jamar Chase down the left sideline, that he just didn't have because the defense was crashing on him immediately. So I think that, overall the offseason, huge success. They brought in La'el Collins, the free agent out of Dallas, to help protect Joe Burrow. I think we picked up a couple other, maybe more average O-linemen in free agency. One from the Pats, I can't remember his name, and another one from the Bucks. So anybody protecting Tom Brady is welcome to protect Joe Burrow, in my book. It was a solid offseason, and I think the draft was a success in terms of bolstering a defense that is probably going to lose a lot of pieces after this season, because I think a lot of guys were on 2-year deals when we signed them before last year. So I will, I'll keep my comments there for now, and I'll let you guys go ahead and talk a little bit about the Lions, like draft and off season, and then maybe we'll circle back to my thoughts moving forward.
Yeah, Bob, who do you want to lead off on the Lions draft talk?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead because with the number 2 overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft, the Lions selected my boy Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Thank you to the Jacksonville Jaguars for falling prey to athleticism over production. Although Aiden Hutchinson is no slouch when it comes to athleticism, but I'll take the guy who put up as many sacks as he did last year. I'm pretty sure Aiden Hutchinson had more sacks last year than Trayvon Walker had in his career. But
who are you to talk, Derek? Who are you?
Who am I to say? I'm no GM. But I thought the Lions killed it. That was an A++ draft for me. Getting Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, it was the no-brainer pick because there was no Trayvon Walker, but you still give the credit where credit was due. They could have done something like what the Sacramento Kings do every year in the NBA draft and always pick the wrong player, even when the correct player is staring them in the face. So credit to Brad Holmes, made the right selection. Aiden Hutchinson, NFL got mad at him because he sent in Aiden Hutchinson's name so quickly that they couldn't get their advertisement money. So be it. Then the Lions fleeced the Vikings to get Jameson Williams. Super excited about that pick. The Lions needed help desperately in the wide receiver room, and even in the offseason, upgraded it. DJ Shark coming in. You get another year of, development for the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Correct.
Bringing in Jameson Williams when he's able to come back from his ACL injury. The Lions did a lot of good things in the wide receiver room. There's one more that I'm missing, and I can't remember who else we signed. But the Lions did really good to address the wide receiver issues, and they fleeced the Vikings in the process. So thank you, Brad Holmes. Very cool. Second round, took Josh Pascal out of Kentucky. Wasn't, my go-to first. That might not have been who I would have taken in the second round. But once again, that's why I'm not a GM in the NFL. But he's a Dan Campbell guy, motor, grit, pushing, attacking, all those things. So hopefully, I think he was injured a little bit in the off season, so didn't quite get to get off the ground in mini camp as we would have liked to see. But super excited for him. Kirby Joseph might end up being our starting safety. Super big fan of Kirby.
I am as well.
Great name, Bob. Great name, Kirby. And anybody who's not named Will Harris is an immediate upgrade at safety. So that's really all we need to know about that. James Mitchell in the 5th round, tight end out of Virginia Tech. It is what it is. Another tight end, blocking body, Dan Campbell type of guy. So be it. Who I'm really intrigued to see is Malcolm Rodriguez, the Oklahoma State linebacker.
Talk of camp.
Dude is an athletic freak that teams passed up on because he's short and he's got short arms. But I'm willing to put that all aside and give him a chance because his measurables were pretty insane, if I remember right. Super smart dude. He was a wrestler, so he knows how to utilize, his advantages and disadvantages. So super intrigued to see what he does. And obviously, again, it's really not hard to upgrade over what we had at linebacker last year. So here's hoping he pans out. And then James Houston, dark horse from Jackson State.
Right out of Prime system.
That's right. Right out of Prime, Deion Prime Sanders. We'll see what he does. Obviously a developmental type of guy, but hopefully he pans out for us. And then last but not least, Chase Lucas out of Arizona State. He was a 5-year starter. He's 25. So, he's a bit old for an NFL draft pick, but you take a flyer on him in the 7th round. Aubrey Pleasant has been very good about getting the most out of corners. We saw it last year, even though our corners, weren't that great. We were practically playing practice squad dudes. Aubrey Pleasant got the absolute most out of those guys in the secondary, and hopefully now that We addressed that a little bit in the offseason as well. Hopefully Jeff Okuda comes back healthy. Amani Oruwariye could be a Pro Bowler. The Lions did a lot of good things this offseason. Would have liked to see them address linebacker a little bit more, but they fortified the D-line, which was a sieve all of last year in the run game. Absolute sieve in the run game, zero pressure in the pass game. The Lions also switched up their defensive scheme to bring a four-man front, allow the players, instead of having to sort of read and react, they're able to just pressure, attack gaps. So hopefully those things help out and give our corners and secondary a little more time, or make it easier on them to be able to cover for as long as they need to. Bob, your thoughts?
I think you did a really great job highlighting each player. I love Kirby Joseph, man. He's just another, like you said, all these picks. It's clear that Brad Holmes and our head coach are in complete alignment with these picks. Dan Campbell, guys left and right, gritty guys that are here to play. They're here to build a culture, and I think that's what we did a great job addressing with a lot of these guys. A lot of good dudes in this draft.
And guys that love football.
Guys that love football, and guys that are not afraid to get dirty at the point of attack, which is exactly what we need.
These guys are going to be biting off kneecaps.
I mean, absolutely.
That is my one.
Absolutely.
Kneecaps are going to be bitten off left and right.
I mean, they might be taking off more than just the kneecap, Dennis.
Listen, I was telling Bobby this the other day. I listened to the full interview again just because I got sidetracked watching YouTube videos the other day, and I forgot that Dan Campbell, that is, was basically saying how you're going to get knocked down, come up, and we're going to take off like a shin, and then is like get knocked back down, and you're going to take like two more to get us back on the ground. We're going to take off a kneecap on the way up. Anyway, go ahead, Bobby. I sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Truly, an iconic moment that Lions fans, after many years of mediocrity, that press conference, if we turn it around here and Dan Campbell becomes something for this franchise, that will be a moment that I think everybody will look back to and say, we finally had a guy right here in this moment that we saw committed, knew what the fans were feeling, knew what the organization had been through, and just wanted a team that could not even necessarily. I mean, we want a winning team, we do, but a team that at least wouldn't lay down and die, wouldn't fold. At least if they were going to go down, would go down fighting, and that's what Dan Campbell. Even this year, 3 wins on the season, this past season, but a lot of very, very competitive games, a lot of fighting to the last whistle, and a team that's in a rebuild, with no clear direction at quarterback. That's what you want to see. Now, the only thing I would like to see more addressed, and I understand why it wasn't addressed, was defensive tackle. I think we got a lot of great edge guys, but Derek, you know how I feel about the interior. We've got to have guys that can hold it down.
I mean, with the Big Peen retiring, I think that was a big unforeseen hurdle. The John Pinacini, the Big Peen, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be an anchor for the interior defensive line, and when he decided to retire, I think that put a little bit of a hitch in the plans. But Bob, I wanted to just double on your point real quick about Dan Campbell knowing what the fans feel. And while you were talking, I Googled it quick just to make sure I didn't make a fool out of myself. Dan Campbell was a member of the 0-16 Detroit Lions. So he knows what it takes to struggle, and he's seen the absolute lowest of the lows. So, for him to come back to Detroit, we know he had some interim head coaching experience, and he went through his growing pains last year. But I'd venture to say that we were the greatest 13-1 team to ever live in the NFL. I mean,
no doubt.
Very competitive in the majority of games. A lot of heartbreak last year.
No shocker there.
But I think we've got a lot of high character guys. And like you were saying, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes being in synergy, having a clear direction, a clear vision for the way they want to construct this team in a way that I haven't seen since the Jim Schwartz days, where they said, we're going to have a bunch of nasty defensive dudes, and Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, Louis Delmas, a lot of guys like they are now, gritty, nasty dudes on defense, and an offense that can be explosive when it needs to be. And that's sort of the way I see things starting to shake out here in Detroit. Jared Goff is no Matthew Stafford, but we've got weapons on the outside when Jameson comes back. Amon-Ra St. Brown is proven. He's a very capable NFL slot receiver and more. So it's good to see a vision when the Quinn Trisha era was just how many expatriates can we bring in, and we'll try and throw it all together and see if it sticks. So to see a vision and them commit to it, I'm pretty sure I think our entire draft was defense. I think every single draft selection except the tight end was a defensive selection. So clearly they knew what they needed to address. They addressed it, and hopefully it all pays out.
My final point on the Lions before we move on, clearly somebody has lit a fire under all the GMs in Detroit except Al Avila, because I've seen more phone work on draft night than I have seen in a long time from Detroit GMs. I mean, it started with Troy Weaver, in his first season with the Pistons making multiple moves, but people in Detroit, Brad Holmes especially now, starting to get a little bit more aggressive, starting to see guys that he truly, completely is sold on and attacking them. He is going out and making the moves necessary, and like you said, making good moves, like good value moves, to get the 12th pick, get Jameson Williams if they think that that's who, that's the caliber of player he can be. Giving up very, very little to Minnesota. When I first saw that we had traded with Minnesota, I'm like, well, why the heck would we trade with a division rival team? That's normally like,
Correct.
You don't do that. You don't trade with somebody within your division for fear that if you make the wrong call, it's gonna bring up a team that you play 2 times a year. But I mean, making what looks at the surface to be good value deals, getting out there and attacking players on the open market. And I'm really, really excited next season to see, looking forward to next offseason, what this band of ownership, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, who put together for a solution at quarterback going forward, assuming that it's not Jared Goff.
Yeah, just to throw another thing in there about Detroit GMs getting after it. We're not much of an NHL podcast. But shout out Steve Yzerman, the Yzer plan.
Yep.
Well, in effect. He attacked in the draft. He's been very aggressive in free agency as well. So look out for the Red Wings. They might sneak their way into a low seed playoff here and just absolutely jumpstart out of the rebuild. Dennis, we'll circle back to you before we move on out of the NFL. The Bengals, do we see them as the AFC contender for the Super Bowl again? What are your thoughts on how the Bengals season is going to play out here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think that this entire offseason, since our, unfortunate, heartbreaking loss to the LA Rams in the Super Bowl, I've had to temper expectations. That has been the entirety of my offseason, has been working to temper expectations going into this, 2022-2023 season, because they're super high. And I think that the moves we've made this offseason, the draft class that we're bringing in, have only elevated those expectations for me. And I honestly think that there's a lot of disrespect against the Bengals right now. I really do. I mean, they're not picked to win the AFC. That's Buffalo, Kansas City. I mean, I was looking at it the other day, we're like the 12th most likely team to win the Super Bowl, according to odds, to Vegas. They have Denver ahead of us. The Chargers are ahead of us. Green Bay, with nobody except Aaron Rodgers, is ahead of us. Like,
Dennis,
the list
do you feel
goes
disrespected?
on. I feel very disrespected. There's a lot of teams on that list. I think maybe we're the Super Bowl runner-up, and you drop us to 12th after the roster got better. The roster got better. We brought in 3 solid offensive linemen to help protect Joe Burrow, which was admittedly our weakest spot last year. Our line is going to be completely new, barring injury. Joe Mixon returns. Jamar Chase in his second year. T. Higgins in his third year. Tyler Boyd's back. Joe's back. We brought in a bunch of guys on the defense in the draft class and bringing back most of the starters from the defensive side of the ball last year. I don't understand why all of a sudden we've just been dropped to like the 12th most likely team to win. It makes no sense in my mind. I know Bobby has some rebuttal to this and thinks that we're due for some regression. So if you want to, chime in, feel free. But I think that we're being disrespected.
Well, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm seeing. Let me count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in the AFC above you or equal to you in to be the representative.
We won last year. We won the AFC.
I understand that, and Derek, I want to get your thoughts on some of these names that I'm gonna read off. Maybe a little. You know what, guys? I think we're gonna do our first ever "Would You Rather" right here. We're gonna, a little segment we've been looking to introduce. Basically, would you rather have the Cincinnati Bengals or the team that we're gonna list? And I want you two to weigh in on it, or all three of us for that matter, to weigh in on whether we think that the Bengals or this team are gonna be more likely to make it to the Super Bowl as the AFC representative. And I'll just do the teams that are even with or above the Bengals.
Sure.
Leading off the AFC, Buffalo Bills.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, go first on all of them, and then we'll circle through.
All right, I'm not an idiot. Buffalo.
As am I also not an idiot. Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. Buffalo, no doubt in my mind. Next, Kansas City.
I think Kansas City takes a step back, but still probably Kansas City.
I personally am not really sold on Kansas City. We'll see if Mecole Hardman is going to be able to fill Tyreek Hill's shoes.
They got Juju.
Juju is garbage. Okay, I have zero.
You're gonna TikTok dance everyone to death.
I have zero respect for TikTok. He and Jackson Mahomes can dance all they want, but they'll be doing a lot of dancing in Cancun because they will not be the Super Bowl representatives for the AFC. Give me the Bengals.
All right.
And I will take the Kansas City Chiefs. Going next, and Dennis, you're going to love this. The Cleveland Browns.
This is the one that absolutely just is grotesque. I could go on and on about the reasons that the Cleveland Browns are going to be the last team in the AFC North.
And please check out our video on YouTube that we just put out about the future of the Cleveland Browns, by the way.
We did. We talked about the Baker trade to Carolina, Josh Rosen being signed by Cleveland, and that organization is once again a dumpster fire. They spent maybe 1.5 to 2 years of being mediocre before returning to absolute dumpster fire. So Deshaun Watson's going to be suspended. They are not going to have they're going to be starting Jacoby Brissett or Josh Rosen at quarterback. That's their competition right now. And do they have some talent at the receiver position and at the running back position? Yes, they do. Do they have a pretty decent defense? Can't deny it. Yes, they do. But the fact of the matter is they're the Cleveland Browns. And the fact of the matter is that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to beat them twice. And give me Cincinnati all day long.
Yeah, for me, really easy. Cincinnati. I think with or without Deshaun Watson. We saw this however many years ago when the Browns brought in Jarvis Landry and they brought in OBJ and they had Baker. And all I had to see was all this garbage about how the Browns were going to the Super Bowl. The Browns were back even though they've never even been at the top. And the Browns are just the AFC Lions. And until, something changes, that's the way I see them. At least for, as we just talked about with the Lions. And maybe it's drinking the blue Kool-Aid, which I do love to do.
Yeah, the Honolulu blue Kool-Aid.
That's right, the Honolulu blue Kool-Aid. The fact of the matter is, for a very long time, the Lions have been the Lions, and the reason they don't get respect is because they haven't earned it. And for me, it always absolutely bamboozles me as to how the Browns garner all of this national media respect when they have done absolutely nothing to earn it
Nothing.
in my lifetime. And if they have done something to earn it, clearly it wasn't significant enough for me to remember. So give me Cincinnati, Cleveland. I mean, just face it. You guys had to give out free beers to give people to come to your stadium a few years ago. It is what it is.
I will take Cincinnati as well, but I do not think Cincinnati sweeps Cleveland during the regular season. I will add that. Next on the list, the Denver Broncos.
I knew this one was coming. And I think that there are some reasons to respect the Denver Broncos heading into this season. I'm a big fan of Jameson Williams. I think he's really talented, and I think he's due for an explosion, even though they brought back Melvin Gordon. I like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. There's not a lot to dislike about their offensive weapons, and of course, Russell Wilson. They made a trade, and he is going to keep them more competitive than they have been in the past. But especially in terms of record, they're playing in the toughest division in football. The Bengals are not. And so, a head-to-head matchup, I like Cincinnati a little bit. Overall record, I like Cincinnati a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting. Russell Wilson is and always has been for like the past 4 years, the first 8 weeks MVP. Is for whatever reason he pops off the first 8 weeks and then you can practically bench him the last 8. Clearly they were held back by their quarterback play last year. The Broncos have for a very long time been a very formidable defense. And even last year, even though they didn't have Von Miller and traded him halfway through the year, the Broncos defense was still very good. And Russell Wilson is a significant upgrade at quarterback. So here's the way I'll put it. I take Denver at Mile High, and I take Cincinnati in Cincinnati. So whichever way that shakes out, I think they're both pretty much right even with each other. And you can practically flip a coin and give it to home field advantage.
I will not be flipping any coin. Give me Mile High all day, because it's time for the Denver Broncos to gallop all over the Cincinnati Bengals this season. Give me them over Cincinnati.
What's Russell's thing? He's got like pony up or something. It's not pony up. It's like, I don't know, he's going with some like catchphrase this season. I don't know.
It's really
Bronco
dumb.
Up or whatever. It's really dumb. It really is.
I don't know. I think that, like you said, Dennis, I think the record for Cincinnati may be better at the end of the season. But I think if Denver makes the playoffs, they can make it farther than the Bengals, given the right matchup. Like any given Sunday kind of thing. I think I would rather have Denver.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. Like anybody can make it further. Once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
Of course, like you said, it's not a given their division, but I think they'll be good enough to squeak in, especially with the expanded.
Yeah, they were a 7-10 team last year, last in the AFC West, which means
you got to think that
their schedule is going to be a little bit softer than a lot of the other teams. And they won 7 games with an absolute smorgasbord at quarterback. And
Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, dumpster fire, guy out of the stadium stands, like basically anybody. So
it was bad.
All right, next up on the list, and we're closing in here on we're almost to teams that are evenly ranked with Cincinnati, but this team is still slightly ahead. The LA Chargers.
I think that the Chargers can be good. I know a lot of people love Justin Herbert. There's a lot of talent in LA. Austin Eckler, if he's not hurt, nursing an injury, is very talented. They've got some good receivers out in LA. But I think that the hype is a little much. I really do. I think that the hype on the season is a little much for a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. And I mean, what are their odds? Like, are they like third in the AFC, Bobby? I think they're like
They're plus 850 to win the conference.
okay. So are we doing this in order then?
We're doing this in order. So I started with the team that is the favorite, which was Buffalo.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's fairly priced. I'm still taking the Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow has proved a little more. I like the weapons, and I've spent a lot of time on this little segment talking about the other teams. Our team is good. The Bengals are good, and they have a lot of weapons and a lot of talent across the board. Finally, have an offensive line, and I don't know a lot about these other teams in depth as much as I do Cincinnati, so maybe there's a little bias there, plus the fandom. But give me Cincinnati head to head, based on what I know.
Dennis said there are a lot of people who are big Justin Herbert fans. I am one of them.
And I don't dislike Justin Herbert. Don't get me wrong. I think he's great. I just don't understand why people think he's better than Joe when he hasn't proven that yet.
Yeah, I love Justin Herbert. I won't say anything about whether I'd rather have him or Joe Burrow. The Chargers got very good. They acquired Khalil Mack, and as soon as their head coach decides to stop going for it on fourth down inside of his own 50-yard line, I think they can be a force to be reckoned with. That defense was fairly decent last year. They were also young, I think. I'm not too big of an AFC, know-it-all. But J.C. Jackson is no scrub. Khalil Mack, we know all about him from his time in Chicago. Rashawn Slater, their offensive tackle from last year. The Northwestern guy is only going to get better. Justin Herbert's only going to get better, assuming Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams all stay healthy. It's a very prolific offense, and they can put up points with the best of them. But really, for me, their success is going to be determined by either the genius or idiocy of their head coach. And I still think that the Bengals are probably the team I would take in a head-to-head matchup. But I do really love the Chargers. I mean, them powder blues, how can you not?
Well, Dennis, luckily for you, I will not be the contrarian. Give me the Bengals, baby. I don't really have much faith at all in the LA Chargers. I think they're just kind of flagrant choke artists, as their head coach likes to exhibit. And Justin Herbert is going to be a see it to believe it kind of thing from him. I see why there's a lot of hype there. Well, kind of. But, he's got everything you want in a prototypical quarterback, and he's definitely shown the big moments. However, Joey B, he's been there. And I think he's been there with a lot less than Justin Herbert has had. So, give me the Bengals. Alrighty, and we'll throw in Baltimore, who's actually tied with you guys for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I get this. I do get this. I think that Baltimore suffered a lot of bad luck last season. They had a lot of time without Lamar. He was sidelined with COVID. He was sidelined with other injuries. They obviously lost like their entire running back room before the season even started. J.K. Dobbins didn't play a down. Gus Edwards didn't play a down. And they've completely kind of gone this offseason. They traded Marquise Brown, and they've basically said, we're going to run it, and you better, try to stop us. We're going to run it or throw it to Mark Andrews. That's kind of how I feel like this, or Rashad Bateman, but like probably Mark Andrews. That's kind of how I feel their offseason has gone. And it's a bold strategy, but I'll tell you what, they're going to be really good at running the football. And I think that there's, not that they're going to be completely one-dimensional, because NFL teams are too smart to do that, but their talent clearly screams one-dimensional. I think that's an advantage for a defense. However, they're going to be so good at it, and they're going to have a lot of creativity. Baltimore scares me if they stay healthy. I think we split the regular season with Baltimore, and it does feel like a coin flip to me. I think who wins the division in the AFC North is who's healthiest.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it with saying that Baltimore last year was just devastated by injuries. That doesn't even mention, I'm pretty sure Marcus Peters went down midseason.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, they pretty much lost their entire secondary and their entire running back room over the course of the season. And, you know, not only not only are they going to get those guys back, but they also upgraded a defense that I didn't think could get any better. Drafting Kyle Hamilton, taking another one of my favorites in the draft, David Ojabo. The Ravens are going to be very stout defensively, and as Dennis said, they're going to run the ball and they're going to run it really, really well. Uh, John Harbaugh has done a lot of good things in Baltimore. There's a reason he's still there, and there's a reason why they're always competitive and always good. Even last year, when their entire team was practically decimated, I don't think they got blown out too much, if at all.
No, I mean they lost like the last 3 games because he went for it. He went for 2 at the end of the game and didn't get it. There was like 2 or 3 games in a row they lost by 1 because they didn't get the 2-point conversion.
Correct. So I'm with you, Dennis. Coin flip. They probably split the home and home. But I'll take the Baltimore Ravens. I think getting everyone back healthy, and I'm not too concerned about what their wide receiver room looks like because as long as you got someone that can run a 4.3 40 and sprint down the sideline for Lamar to throw it up to, and as long as you got Mark Andrews and as long as you got Justin Tucker hitting from 60 yards, you're not going to have a lot of empty possessions. So
I was just going to say we need to have Justin Tucker and Evan Shooter McPherson have some sort of kickoff or something to determine the tiebreaker. I mean, I actually I don't want that. I mean, I love Evan, but Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker.
Dennis,
Bobby.
once again, who day? That's all I got to say about this one. The Baltimore Ravens, they're way too one-dimensional to be an AFC conference winner. And I don't really. I think my big qualm with Baltimore is that I just don't have that much faith in Lamar Jackson to lead them to any significant victory or to claim the AFC or something like that. I just don't trust his. I just don't trust his arm. He's a great runner of the football, but I think at some point that style is going to bite him. I think he's unfortunately. I could very easily see an injury coming his way this year. Not that I would wish that on him, but just the fact that he puts himself in harm's way so much as an effective runner. And that's what happens when you play nothing but hard nose, run the ball football like the Ravens do. You open yourself up to injuries left and right, and it's hard for me to see them staying clear from that. And I just think that the Cincinnati Bengals rather have a way more well-rounded attack offensively, and while Baltimore's defense may be maybe marginally better, I would definitely agree with that. I just don't have much. I just don't. Once again, it's kind of like with the Chargers. I would kind of have to see it to believe it. Since if we were talking about Cincinnati the same moment last year, I probably would have said give me Baltimore then. But now looking at it, I would think I would rather have Joe Shiesty, as you like to say now, Dennis. And the final team on the list.
One more thing quick.
Go ahead.
Interesting tidbit on the Ravens schedule. They opened the season with all 4 AFC East teams. I don't know how many other teams in the NFL face like the cross-divisional opponents all in a row, all to start the season. Absolutely wild.
Wow.
Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Bills in that order.
Wow.
That is crazy.
Bizarre scheduling from
that
the
is.
NFL. All right, Bob.
Bizarre.
One last team, and once again rated even to the Cincinnati Bengals. None other than the Tennessee Titans.
I mean, I've always kind of liked Tennessee a little bit. I've had a little soft spot in my heart, over the years for Tennessee. But I'll kind of keep this one short and sweet. No A.J. Brown, I think that the kid they drafted out of Arkansas, I'm blanking on his name, but I like him a lot. I think that, they're drafting him as A.J. Brown's replacement, and he's going to be good. But Derrick Henry's going to get hurt. Ryan Tannehill is going to he's not Joe Burrow. And Tennessee's defense is very wishy-washy, it feels like. Give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, I've got 5 words for you. Ryan Tannehill is not good. Give me the Bengals.
And once again, I will complete the sweep. The wide receiver you were thinking of was Traylon Burks.
Traylon Burks, yes, thank
Dennis.
you. Thank you.
However, once again, Ryan Tannehill, even less faith in Ryan Tannehill than Lamar.
He's got nobody to throw to either.
Lamar,
Oh, okay.
at least a former MVP. Ryan Tannehill is once again, he's like he'll give you about 5 good games a season, similar to what you said about Russ. And then he will completely fall off the map, and you never really know if you can count on him. This team will
I've gotten
only
burned by drafting Tannehill too many times in fantasy.
This team will only go as far as Derrick Henry will take them. However, the fact of the matter is, similar to the Ravens, everybody knows that is the game plan for success for Tennessee. Can we hit you with a heavy dose of running the football right down your throat, and are you going to sit back and take it? If I'm any team playing the Ravens or the Titans, I am crowding the box and daring you to throw it over my head, because I just don't have faith that either of those teams can do it. And I have faith that Cincinnati can do that, which is why I want Cincinnati over those teams.
Yeah, I guess last thing on Cincinnati before we move into our Detroit outlook is, I don't know, a couple months back, me and the boys decided to go through the Lions and Bengals schedule game by game and sort of give our predictions. So I have our schedule release predictions for the 2022 season. Dennis and I have the Bengals going 12-5. Bobby, the outlier, at 10-7. So you can mark those down for your future checkbooks. Did we hit the totals or not? So I guess moving into Detroit, probably won't have to do a would you rather here, because
absolutely not. That's why I was going for the Bengals.
Yeah, because
Bobby, is there anybody less likely in the NFC? I would hope so. Maybe like Atlanta?
Bears.
Bears.
Okay.
Probably Carolina. They're going to be dog.
Yeah.
Although check out our episode. I'd say our YouTube episode.
Another good plug.
Off the top of my head, the Saints will probably not be very good. Atlanta's going to be trash.
Garbage.
Yeah, Atlanta's going to be bad.
But yeah, as much Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid as I like to drink, still cooler heads must prevail. I have the Lions going 9-8, which I think is a very, it's probably to most national media a little bit of an overestimate. But I think Bob said our total is at 6.5.
It is.
I'm hammering that over every day and twice on Sunday. Bobby and Dennis, you both have the Lions going 11-6, so even more, enthusiastic than I am.
Drink that Kool-Aid, baby. Drink that Kool-Aid.
So potential playoff, appearance for the Lions coming off of a 3-win season. And really for me, I think it's going to come down to 3 things. And there are 3 pretty big things, so it's kind of nuanced. The play of Jared Goff.
Number 1. Absolutely.
Can he show that he can be the guy long term? Because this is kind of his prove it year. A very much upgraded offense, a hopefully completely healthy offensive line. We didn't have Frank Ragnow all of last season. Penei Sewell was switching between both tackle positions. So hopefully the offensive line is able to play as a unit for the full year. Vastly upgraded wide receiver room. TJ Hawkinson, hopefully he comes back healthy and can stay healthy for a full year. Maybe he'll stop trying to hurdle people. DeAndre Swift, need him to just play through some things. Being a running back in the league is not easy, but for every little pinch and pull on your hamstring and your groin, you can't be sitting out for 3 weeks at a time. So very much upgraded offense for Jared Goff. Kind of a prove-it year for him as to whether or not the Lions will stick with him long term. So that's number one. Number two, overall health of the team. Jeff Okuda, will he be healthy? Can he show that he's not a bust?
I don't know if it matters if Jeff Okuda's healthy.
The offensive line, can they stay healthy? Hawk, DeAndre, can they stay healthy? The Lions were a very much injury-maligned team last year. Even, bringing up practice squad guys and they were getting hurt. We were running on fumes, basically, towards the end of the year last year. And then number three, can the linebacker room hold up? That was the one position group that wasn't really addressed as much as the others. The secondary very much addressed, the defensive line very much addressed. Can the linebacker core of Alex Anzalone, bringing back Jared Davis after the Quintricia era where we took him in the first round, can Derek Barnes make the leap? Will Malcolm Rodriguez see, downs in minutes? There's a lot of questions about the linebacker room that I have in all aspects: pass rush, run defense, pass coverage. A lot of question marks. So can the linebacker core hold up? I think is going to be pretty much the key to success. Can they cover a dang running back out of the backfield?
I mean, if I have to watch any more dink and dunks off to the running back for 10 yards and a first on third down, I'm going to be ill. What I'm also ill about is the fact that I'm looking at the NFC champion odds currently, and the Honolulu Blue are dead last at plus 7,500. The next closest team is the G-Men, the Bears, and the Panthers at plus 5,000. So we are getting such disrespect on what we're trying to build in Detroit. But that's okay. That's how we like it. Detroit versus everybody. They're not going to see us until we hit them with the 11-6 record. Right, Dennis? Anyway,
that's absolutely correct.
Here's my thing. If we don't meet the 11-6 record, I know that's high in the sky. If we don't meet that mark, that's fine. If I have to live through another last place finish in the NFC North, I am going to barf, and it is going to be not a pretty scene, because this will make, now we're in a leap year, a full 4 seasons in a row of last place NFC North finishes. We need to finish above the Chicago freaking Bears at the bare minimum. Once again, check out that episode on YouTube. We talked a lot about Justin Fields on there and what we think of him.
Good.
But I do not have much faith in him at all. And I really don't have a lot of faith in really 3 of the 4 teams. Really every other team in the NFC North besides us. I mean, huge question marks around the Packers. Huge question marks around the Vikings. I mean, they seem to always be treading water every season. And the Bears have everything to prove and are probably in just as much of a rebuild right now as we are. Except they have a quarterback that they think can lead them into the future, which I don't really have much faith in.
Yeah, but he's got nobody around him, so you completely. I honestly like the Lions more than the Bears.
No,
as
yeah.
You and Derek have both alluded to, and Bobby, is the bag going to be coming out if we cannot secure a third or better in the NFC North this season for the Detroit Lions?
For all the GTD faithful, the past few years I've taken like a brown paper bag, and you guys know it from the games and watching other teams, and I've marketed it up, put it over my head, and watched the Detroit Lions probably like the last 3 weeks of every season the past couple of years. When we've been going 3-13-1 and all these garbage records and somehow finishing last again. But no, if we finish last again this season, I will be double bagging it, because this is, I mean, 5 years in a row, does you think at this point we'd be due? We're just like by luck and probability alone, we'd be due for a third place finish. I think we can finish second in the division. I think we can finish above the Vikings as well if we had a few things bounce right. Maybe that's high in the sky, but 11-6. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Just like Derek said, I'm very, very enthusiastic about our chances of beating the sports books this year, who have us at 6.5 games.
I know. I like the over there. I think the 11-6 that I put out there earlier may be a tad ambitious looking back, but I mean, over 6.5, hit that for sure. And Detroit's going to be better than people think. And as we alluded to, lost so many close games last year. They got better. So, a couple of those fall your way, plus just the upgrade in talent that you're going to have. Dan Campbell has a year under his belt now, and I like him a lot. I have a lot of faith in him. He's learning the ropes of being a head coach in the NFL. Yeah, I like you guys' shot.
And once again, I mean, these odds may have changed from when I'm seeing them right now on this website here, but how do you have the Detroit Lions below a team like the Bears, below the teams like how do you have us at 6.5 wins, and we are the last place odds right now in the NFC? I mean, you don't think there's going to be one team in the NFC? Saying the books were right and we won 6 games, even. We didn't even make the over. There isn't going to be one team in the NFC that finishes lower than 6 games. I mean, there's got to be. There's got to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Seattle, I think they're clearly worse. Atlanta, clearly worse. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one team in the NFC East finished worse than us. And so, I don't know. It's just a whole lot of disrespect. And clearly, the Lions, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. Knock on wood. Hopefully they are not due for a plateau or regression, and that 6.5 should be a piece of cake. I'm not too worried about it. Up, Dennis.
That's right. Climb that mountain.
Well, I'm going to assume that probably wraps it up for our Lions talk.
It does.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, if that's the case, then it's time. We're about wrapping up here, but of course we've got to get everybody's favorite segment that we all know and love, the Right Bench Baller, making its return for the first time in Season 2. Who wants to start us off with the very first Right Bench Baller of the new season?
I would be honored to, Derek. I would be honored to. And I've got none other than Yankees second baseman / outfielder Matt Carpenter as my right bench baller pick. Now, if anyone's been paying attention to the MLB recently, or especially fantasy baseball like the three of us, you might be seeing the name Matt Carpenter be rising rapidly up your waiver wire acquisitions, waiver wires in your league, because this man has been absolutely raking as of recently. He's only appeared in 33 games this season for the Yankees, and you probably remember Matt from his days in St. Louis. However, he's maintained an absolute insane production this season with a 2.1 WAR so far, a 326 batting average, 13 homers in 33 games, might I add, and a 448 OBP for the season. Just absolutely munching. I know he's owned in our league already, and I'm very irritated that I didn't pick him up. But Matt Carpenter has just exceeded all expectations for the New York Yankees this season, who have appeared to make a bargain basement signing of a guy that hopefully can help be the difference. Get my second favorite MLB team, the New York Yankees Bronx Bombers, back to the World Series this season.
All right, Derek, I'm going to wrap it up, so why don't you go?
Okay. My right bench baller is going to be Toronto Blue Jays catcher Danny Jansen. And their record-breaking for the franchise performance against the Boston Red Sox last night in their 28-5 victory. Danny Jansen hit 2 dongs, good for 6 RBIs, a walk, and 3 hits overall. Scored 4 total runs, was instrumental in the absolute blasting of Boston. Boston clearly hates the kids because the kids did not eat last night. Danny Jansen outscored the Boston Red Sox all on his own, And, splitting time with, I believe, Gabriel Moreno, not really a true number one catcher down there, or up there in Toronto, I should say. So Danny Jansen is going to get my nod for right bench baller.
Sweet. I'm going to round us out here. I took a little bit of a twist to the right bench baller, and since we've been off the airwaves for a while, I'm looking at a season-long right bench baller that we alluded to earlier in the podcast, Cincinnati Red Brandon Drury. And I mean, I don't even need to give you the numbers on this guy. If you've been paying attention at all to baseball this season, he's got 18 homers, OBP near 350. It's been absolutely instrumental to the Reds, even though we have not been good. Has been absolutely instrumental to us winning any games at all, honestly, and has come out of nowhere. I think he started the season, I was telling somebody this the other day, fantasy baseball rankings, he was outside the top like 500 or 600 before the season even started. Nobody knew who this guy was. I didn't know who he was. And he's had a really good year, so nod to Brandon Drury, snub from the All-Star game, but this hopefully will be a close second in an award for him to take home.
Now, just one last thing, of course, to finish off the day for our pod, we've got to do everybody's favorite segment, Garbage Time Takes Your Money. Garbage Time Takes Your Money, baby. And I've got just a couple games in the MLB sphere for everybody to put their money on the line for. And we got to start off tomorrow with the St. Louis Cardinals coming to GABP against the Cincinnati Reds. We've got none other than Miles Mikolas on the mound for the Cardinals and Tyler Mahle on the mound for the Reds. The current favorite is the St. Louis Cardinals at minus 142 with an over/under at 9.5. Dennis, as the Red fan that you are, where's your money going on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't dug into the numbers in depth. This is the rubber match they're going to be playing tomorrow. St. Louis bested us tonight. The Reds got the best of the Cardinals on Friday night. So 1-1 split on the series so far. Obviously in GABP, the, as Derek likes to call it, Little League ballpark that it is. But you got two pretty solid starting pitchers on the mound tomorrow. Tyler Mahle has had a pretty good season. He's not as good at home, given the fact that you give up a lot of home runs at Great American Ballpark. Miles Mikolas has been pretty solid. I know that. But just up and down, the Cardinals lineup is better. I don't necessarily know that I would be hammering them at minus 1.5, but money line, it's a little juice to pay at, what do you say, minus 145?
Yeah, 142,
but
yeah.
I definitely like the Cardinals money line. I don't think there's a reason to bet the Reds money line against anybody but maybe like Oakland. Yeah, I guess I got to go. Do we just want to do money line picks?
Let's do a money line and an over under. 9.5 is where it's at.
What do you think?
9.5.
9.5. That's close. I think that this, honestly, if I was to actually be betting this game, I think I'd look at the first half of the game over under and take the under, because Mahle and Mikolas, I think, will be dealing. But once you get into these bullpens, especially the Reds bullpen, they give up a lot of runs in a hurry. So it's a little more risky, but looking at the game long, I think I'm going to lean over because our bullpen has just been so unpredictable and not a lot of faith there.
Derek, you want to take us next?
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's not too often that you see teams play a 5-game series.
That's true. We did have the games before the break. Yeah.
Correct. So the over has hit. Well, I shouldn't say the over. The over respective to this over of 10 has hit in 3 out of the 4 games so far. And last night's game, or today's game, whatever you want to call it, on July 23rd, that reached 9 runs. I'm not concerned about Miles Mikolas giving up too many runs, but Tyler Mahle scares me a lot. But I mean, Tyler Mahle is a complete enigma. Sometimes that dude goes 6 innings, no runs. Sometimes he goes 3 innings, 8 runs. You never know, which is why betting is what it is. But I'm going to take the Cardinals. That much I do feel certain on. And man, the over 10 feels juicy, and life's too short to bet the under.
9.5.
Life's too short to bet the under. So, you know what, screw it. I'll take the over. Over 10 and give me the Cardinals.
I just realized that you guys still made me go first after these 2 years of hiatus. I don't forget being forced into going first after being accused of copying you two and riding your coattails, as it were. I see what you did.
Dennis, that was a very tactical ploy by me, I must say. That was tactical.
No, I didn't forget.
Now, to round it off, I don't think I have much to say on this more than anyone else has already said. This is a Miles Mikolas shove show against the Reds, who are not going to be able to hit anything, especially now that Tyler Stephenson's broken like the 7th bone in his body this season. And I'm going money line on the Cards and over 9.5. I think that Miles gets roughed up for maybe 2, 3. And Mally, you never know what you're going to get, but the bullpens are going to get dinged up. That much I am very, very confident in. And now for the final game, of the 2-game Garbage Time Takes Your Money. And this one has a little bit of a personal ring with Dennis and I in our previous betting patterns. None other than the New York Yankees with Nestor Cortez on the mound, facing the Baltimore Orioles with none other than famous strikeout betting legend Dean Kremer on the mound for the Orioles. The current money line is minus 194 for the Yanks, but maybe potentially the more interesting play is the over/under 9 runs scored. Dennis, once again, man, how do you think Dean's going to fare up?
I got to fade Dean. Always fade Dean. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering here correctly, Bobby, we hit Dean's like under strikeouts like 4 times in a row or something like that.
Yep.
So maybe look at that line as well if you're interested. Not much longevity in games out of Dean, as I remember. Not a lot of sitting guys down either.
No.
And the Yankees offense is definitely not just going to fold under the attacks of Dean Kremer. So I definitely taking the Yankees money line, and the Yankees might go over 9 runs on their own on Dean Kremer. So let's just go with the over as well, and that is it's just the way it is.
Yeah, Dean's had a bit of a resurgence this year. I think he's pitching to a sub-3 ERA currently. Got roughed up a little bit against the Rangers a while back, but out of nowhere you can't sleep on Dean. But Nestor Cortez, coming off of the All-Star break, I think he was getting a little roughed up towards as we were approaching the All-Star break. But I think the Yankees, after their bullpen blew it tonight, giving up 4 unanswered runs in the 7th and 8th inning to absolutely throw away a game tonight, losing Michael King. That one's going to sting. Orioles bullpen has got some work because their starters don't really go that deep. So give me the Yankees, and even though I think both starting pitchers will actually do pretty well, I'll take the over. It'll be a 6-5 game.
I guess I'll be the first contrarian of anything on the night today. I will go the New York Yankees, but I will take the under for the very reason that Derek just outlined. I think that the starting pitchers will actually go a little bit in this game. And so I don't know if Clay Holmes got any work tonight because he pitched like 2 innings yesterday, but he will be available tomorrow for the Yankees probably if he didn't play tonight. And so that will be another additional inning or so if it's a close game of probably no run ball. So I'm going to probably say that 4-3 ball game, give me the New York Yankees with Clay Holmes getting a save for Live Arms LLC fantasy team, maybe.
If Cieno Perez comes into the game and locks it down for Baltimore, at that case, give me Baltimore. I was wrong. No stopping Cieno Perez.
Dennis, remind me what you took in the Cincinnati St. Louis.
St. Louis money line over the 9.5.
You did take the over. Okay.
Yep, I know. I complicated things there because I went on my whole first half of the game tangent, but I did take the over on the total run line.
Got it. Locked into the spreadsheet. We'll revisit them during our next episode. But unless anyone else has anything to add, I think that'll wrap it up. So, Bob, do you want to hit them with the new and improved socials one more time?
Of course, one more time for everybody at home. Please check us out on YouTube first and foremost. That is where all the podcasts are exclusively going to be for season 2. And you're going to find us, basically just search Garbage Time Takes on YouTube and you'll find us. And there'll be more than just podcast videos there. So please feel free to check out all our content there. On Twitter, at Garb Time Takes. On that page, we basically just exclusively tweet out links to all of our new content. So please feel free, if you're active on Twitter, to check us out there. And then finally, on Instagram, please feel free to find us at Garbage Time Takes there. We'll be posting, once again, all of our new articles that you can find at the website below in the description. That is where basically the hub of all our content is. So, once again, at Garb Time Takes on Twitter, at Garbage Time Takes at both YouTube and Instagram. And please check out our website because that is going to have our articles. You can read about how we started this podcast. You can read about some of our favorite sports teams. And once again, we are posting just short articles on with some great analysis on all different the latest sports topics of the day.
Getting some golf articles up there too for golf fans out there. I know we got Derek with an interesting home run derby article, Bobby with the LeBron article. So yeah, for sure, check them out.
Here's one more freebie for the people. Take the under in the Marlins game tomorrow. Sandy Alcantara might throw a complete game shutout. And the Marlins are a little banged up as it is themselves. I don't see them scoring 7 runs on their own. Maybe not even. I don't even think they score 6. So under 7.5 might be a free one for the people. But yeah, thanks again, Bob, for plugging the socials. I think that'll wrap it up for episode 1 of season 2 on Garbage Time Takes. So thank you again so much for watching. Again, feel free to check out the website, the YouTube, and everything else in between. And with that, we will see you in our next episode. Thanks again for watching.